So we've all heard the age-old advice to just be yourself, and this can certainly be helpful when you're pretending to be somebody that you're not. And I used to be this way a lot. I had this different persona for like every person that I would engage with that I felt like the other person would most positively respond to. And this was like a unconscious behavior in order to maintain harmony in that relationship. Something I was thinking about recently was about why big crowds and large groups of people can be a little bit intimidating towards an INFJ. Wasn't necessarily due to the quantity of people, but more so the effort required to maintain these various personas throughout. An example of this comes to mind in the movie The Prestige, directed by Christopher Nolan. It's this movie about a rival between two magicians that takes place in like the 1950s. One of the main characters, his name is Alfred Borden, and he's in this feud with Robert Angier. And so Borden was this very quick, intellectual, calculated man who is able to spot like other magicians' tricks with relative ease. So throughout the film, he's going back and forth in this feud with Angier, which the film crescendos in this final act called The Teleporting Man, in which it's revealed to the audience at this point that Alfred has this twin brother named Freddie who has been essentially helping him pull this trick off.
We were both family, and we were both Borden.
And so it's in this moment right here where it explains the complications that they have in their relationships, because Alfred is in love with Sarah, Freddie's in love with Olivia. So basically both brothers have like polar opposite personalities, and they have to conceal their identity to their lover. And obviously this is like a dramatized version of like the INFJ's contrast of personality, because sometimes it can feel like you're cycling through these personalities depending on the environment, the people that you're around, time of day, things like that. And because of NI's ability to shift perspective, introverted intuition, INFJs grow up with this ability to relate to everything but not necessarily feel the identity associated with it, which transcends this idea that dichotomies are rational and linear. So when seen through the lens of NI, ostensible paradoxes become much more intelligible and explainable. And so this is why INFJs go through these identity crises. Same reason why you feel you're, a philosopher but not fully a philosopher, an entrepreneur but not fully an entrepreneur, an artist but not fully an artist. This notion that your personality is a much more fluid concept rather than something that's fixed. And when you have SE, extroverted sensing, the least developed function, a lot of times INFJs will be so married to their vision of trying to become someone that they mistake their strong drive of NI for SE outcomes. INFJs can fall victim to their own blind spots because this line between SE and NI is like razor thin, but the relationship between the two functions is inseparable. In fact, much of the vision that NI has towards the future is so that SE can thrive, right? Because SE is all about the here and now, the present moment. But this can become problematic, of course, when too much of your focus is being towards this outcome, because then it makes you obsessive, like you're attached to it. Let's say you're planning your 10-year high school reunion, so you're arranging a chef to be there, the flowers to be delivered, the perfect venue on the best day. You have this idea in your head of how you want things to look, but when the day comes, the weather's bad, people cancel on you last minute, chef calls out sick, your grandma's driving, she gets derailed by a semi-truck, she passes away on the day of your reunion that you invited her to for some reason. So now you're like really sad. The INFJ becomes so stressed out to the point of self-criticism. Oh, you could have been there to stop the semi-truck. Why weren't you? Why did you pick this day when you knew it could have rained? So the idea is that a lot of things outside of your control are happening, but you can still internalize that as if this entire disaster is a personal attack on the INFJ's inferior function and ego. And so instead of being open to a modification of the original plan, the INFJ fixates on NI, because to let go of that vision would mean to give up on the INFJ's dominant function, NI, their very sense of self. And so this is when that transition takes place behind the scenes. SE, the blind spot, inferior function, masquerades itself as NI, and so you get lost in the minutia, the details, rather than keeping the big picture in perspective. And it can be so easy when you get in this for INFJs to lose touch with reality, because a lot of times, and this isn't necessarily a bad thing, but a lot of these hypothetical scenarios and situations that play through their mind and these emotions that have been generated from their inner world, basically these can sometimes be more entertaining than what's happening in the real world. There's a scene in this movie La Chinoise, directed by Jean-Luc Godard. Yeah, I don't know if that's how you say it, but anyways, that's my American attempt at that. Veronique is one of the main characters in this scene where she's got a book open and she's telling, and she says this quote, and she says, "It's fiction, but it brings me closer to reality." And I think this is a relevant quote because a lot of the times these imaginative scenes that play through the reel of the INFJ's mind can help illuminate their existence in a way. It makes experiences feel, I don't want to say like romantic view, but in a way like existence just feels like more sobering, more ethereal, because it's not easy trying to actualize these thoughts, right? Much less trying to explain it to somebody that probably doesn't understand. And honestly, this reason is why I took up journaling, which journaling is like this process that conveys thoughts to written words, and it serves as like a release. There's something to be said about being able to read what you've written. That's very cathartic. Flannery O'Connor says, "I write to discover what I know." So writing is you solving your own problems through you understanding them for what they really are. And so tying this back in, because INFJs derive such a large portion of their sense of fulfillment through understanding, rather than materialism, they don't really care to engage in activities that are outside of this intuitive plane. And this is why a lot of INFJs give up in the corporate world, even if they're far up in the chain, to do something, to give themselves to something that's more meaningful, more fulfilling, that caters towards those intuitive faculties. Because INFJ minds are more like these landscapes. They're filled with words and imagery and symbols and these webs of connections that are not organized in a sequential way. So it can be difficult to express themselves in ways that correspond with how this data is lined up in their mind. Whereas a lot of personality types might generate their thoughts in a much more sequential, linear way. The information that's within their brain is like stacked neatly on these shelves. There's filing cabinets. Things are outlined A to Z. It's much more, things are where they should be. Whereas INFJ's mind, it's like, why do you have a refrigerator in the bathroom? Why is the toilet in the living room? Nothing really makes sense, but somehow it works. It's like sometimes I'll go back through my old journals from just a month ago, and I'm like, man, what was I writing about? I have no idea. So sometimes it can be difficult to understand yourself sometimes. So anyways, that's the whole point of doing inner work, but that's a different topic. So anyways, guys, I hope this video helps. That's all I got. A whole point of this was to just allow you to feel more understood and that you're not alone. So thanks again for watching. See y'all in the next video.